Everyone's here today. Everyone's awake. Oh, I think the baby got excited now. You want to go with Mochi's? So this is the space that I'm looking at. When you come up the entrance, we have roses and then the arches, the tree. And you really do have to use your imagination. I have this little cloth and then I add some of this little alcohol disinfectant, and that is how I go ahead and just make sure that my shears are clean so that when I'm using them for the next activity, they will not pass anything that they may have picked up. I just finished planting. Look at these babies. They are so whimsical and beautiful. I don't have a lot of purple in the garden, and so I'm trying to add more that fit that color scheme. But look at them. They're so beautiful. And I have a little like one there. Anyways, this is a rose bush that we just got. These are gonna die off soon just because we planted them, so I'm gonna go ahead and just cut off all the dead stuff. Like down here you can see there's a lot of dead stuff, so I'm gonna prune all that away just so that the tree doesn't have to worry about those and it can worry about these beauties up here and keeping healthy. So if you have never pruned a rose bush, to deadhead the rose where the rose was, right? So here's a bud that's gonna open up and get you a little flower. Once the flower is spent, it's gonna start looking like that, where it's kind of getting droopy. And then when it's done, it's gonna start looking like that. And you know, if you can, I would recommend going around and just cutting those off, because right now the plant is focusing on turning that into seed / letting it die, and not focusing on giving you more buds. So what you want to do is you want to come through, follow that, go down and just nip that off and get rid of it. So you want to do that to all of the ones in your rose bush that have this thing. And honestly, this one looks like the other one connecting to it is done, so I'm gonna just take that whole thing out. There we go. Beautiful. Over here is another one. So I'm gonna go and come here and just cut that off. Let it fall down. I don't want it to focus on making seeds, so we can go ahead and say bye-bye. Now let's look at this and see if there's any other ones that need to be deadheaded. And would you look at that, there it is. So let's take that away, and then let's go ahead and continue. It looks like this one here is also done, so let's go ahead and take that out. And yes, it was done. Beautiful. All right, so we got, you know, the basic care for the roses, which is deadheading them. You know, you're seeing the flower, you've seen that it's getting spent. Once your leaves are starting to fall, go ahead and deadhead. The next thing that I like to do is just take off all these yellow leaves. And we know these yellow leaves were there from when we got it. If it gets more yellow leaves, then I know it's something to do with me and what I did to the plant, not what was already being done to the plant. Usually the first like month you will see yellowing leaves, just because the plant is going through stress of being planted. I like to mess up the roots and break up the root ball so that I can encourage the roots to grow in their new little pots. And it tends to be a bigger pot than what it was before, so it does take a little bit longer to get seeded than if you just move the plant from one to another without moving the roots. But the plant tends to be fine. It goes okay. So there we go. So just moving anything that's up on top that's looking a little yellow, like I said, just to make sure that any yellowing that happens afterwards is yellowing that I caused. And if it goes longer than the usual period it takes, which is about a month to get established, and it's still turning yellow after that, then I know I did something else and there's something else going on with my plants. All right, and I'm pretty satisfied. I feel like I got all the yellow leaves that we're gonna get. And I don't like bottom leaves. I tend to take away the bottom leaves, especially for a rose bush that is closer to the soil, but I don't like bottom leaves. And then also this one is dying already. Great. So if we look at the top of our rose bush, it's looking so much cleaner, so much healthier already, and we haven't really done much. So now here, how do you tell it's dead wood? This is dead wood right here. This is dead wood. This is gonna be dead wood. This is turning into dead wood, this little yellow one. I 100% want to go and cut off the dead wood and take out those little, and honestly, this right here, do you see that? So you could go ahead and plant this. This is the little Y connector, and sorry, it doesn't want to focus, but that little Y that you see right there, that's full of growing, like the plant wants to grow, right? It's full of growing hormones, and you know that this is one that flowers. So I would even just plop it into somewhere and let it fight to live. I do recommend you take off the bottom leaves because you don't want like the leaves in the way, but go ahead and plop that in there. Because I wanted to focus on growing, I am gonna deadhead this little top just so that it doesn't have to worry about it. I just got my last shipment of roses here, so you'll see that I have the last 4 ones, and they come in a Ziploc baggie with a stick so that they don't fall when you are traveling. So you just want to get your shears, get to the zip tie, cut it off, get to the zip tie, cut it off, and then you want to take the bag off, take it off and water it. All right, so I took them out, and the next thing is you want to give them water because they have been traveling And for me, they were traveling for 3 days. So I want to give them at least 30 minutes to just soak up as much water as they need to soak up, so that we can go ahead and plant them, or at least find out where we want to plant them. But you see, it's gonna probably want some water. Also got these. You get 2 packs for $5, and I got pink and purple. And I'm gonna go ahead and plant right here my pink and purple flowers right here next to this little one. See how it goes. Right here. I just finished planting, and look at these babies. They're so beautiful. I know I don't like annuals in the garden because they die, but you know, I got cosmos. They're annuals, I believe, but they gave a lot of seed and they came back, and these are looking cute. Bien bonitos, ¿verdad? Me gustaron los colores. Alright, I am back in the garden, and I started a project where I wanted to go through and just start naming my roses and any other plants that have names on them, specifically because I counted and I have 44 different rose types, which is great. And I know most of the roses names, but there was still a couple that I couldn't remember the name. Or I did know it, I just didn't know it at that time, or you know, X, Y, and Z. And I figured naming them would be the best. And I did have a couple of name tags from a different project when I went to the Dollar Tree, and it's like these little ones, and also like these little ones. But it was only 10 per pack for 99 cents. And I was gonna go back, but I was like, not really worth it. And then I was like, well, I can always buy these on Amazon or something like that and get like a pack of 200 for like $7, which also, you know, but I want to not have to be spending, I mean, it's $7, but it's also, you know, more that I'm bringing in to the landfill and things like that. And so I was trying to think, what can I use that's already in my garden that you know, won't get destroyed with one watering session, that I'll be able to write on, so I can write the names and things. And you know, hopefully something popped to your mind, because this is it. I'm gonna be cutting this up, writing in the names, the information, and storing it in. It is plastic. It's already in my garden. I'm not planning on using the little ones to plant. I use the bigger ones, so it'll be great. All right, so I have gone through and cut up the little plant holder thing, and we'll go ahead and write the names in. One thing I will say is that for most of the roses, I could remember what it was called. So, you know, these were fairly easy to name. They're also very recent roses, right? But for example, that one I bought last October. Yeah, close to October, and I have no idea what the rose was called. I wasn't thinking about the names then, and I had no idea what it would be called. And so I recommend, if you don't know what your flowers or plants are called, go ahead and just look at the containers. Hopefully you kept them and reused them. I went throughout the whole garden and just kind of turned them over and was searching for the names, and I found one of them that had this little tag on it, and it was like Oklahoma hybrid tea rose, and it matches the rose, and it's, like I said, one of the only red roses that I have in the garden, so fairly easy to match it up. And now I have an Oklahoma red rose hybrid tea name tag that can be placed, and hopefully it's not too hard to get it in there. Maybe you have to, like, you know, get your finger going so that you can then tie it in there like that. Oh, beautiful. And now my rose is named. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and find other roses that do not have names so far and get those added. Hello everyone, welcome back. So I just went through my garden and I deadheaded my roses and anything else that needed to be pruned, and I realized a couple of things, but right now I'm gonna address one of them, which is the fact that my shears are dull. And how can I tell it's dull? When I cut and it's not a clean cut, and you really want it to be a clean cut. So I'm gonna grab my handy little, I don't know what this thing is called. It came with the set that I bought, and it's like a little filing rock thing. I think they have some for knives and things, but I'm gonna use it today for my little shears. And I'm just gonna go alongside, follow what's already there. Just to get it nice and sharp again. See that you're starting to see a little bit of where that blade was, which is good. And now great. All right, that looks good to me. Maybe we can do a test cut. So this is a rose that I just deadheaded, and let's go ahead and see. Yeah, that was definitely a much better cut than it's been. I'm liking it. And if you don't have your own filing rock, local nurseries also tend to do shear filing for you.